Solo. "Let me do him," Melody says, menacing me by punching her palm. Like Thrash, these other band members are burly specimens in peak physical condition. With no body fat and nothing but lean muscle, I silently wonder whether this version of my kid sister might actually have a chance at taking me. Ooh, please, let me rip out his vocal cords and snip off his fingers so he can never blaspheme our songs again. Skins McStick sneers, "Fuck that, let me kick his ass." "Now, we talked about this," Thrash says. "We're a family act and do not curse." Tom's more hardcore doppelganger strikes his drumsticks together in fury. "Oh, not that shit again." I wince as RB Slapbass approaches me, but I realize I'm not the one he's talking to as he steps past me. "Back off, Thrash! Who made you leader anyway?" "I lead because you follow." Thrash is so angry with his brother, he stomps toward him and hits his own chest like an ape. "You always take his side," Melody shrieks. RB retorts, "I'm not taking sides, I'm keeping peace." Nicholas and I look at each other. We can't believe our luck. They're so focused on one another, no one seems to be concerned with us. I'm standing directly next to Thrash Axeman. All I've got to do to get past him is take a couple of steps toward freedom. Content to give my head start a chance, I move away from the arguing band members. The first 3 feet are slow, but soon I'm picking up speed, heading toward the end of the tunnel without looking back. Behind me, I can hear Skins mocking Thrash. "Look at me, everyone. I'm a rock god. Everyone knows my name, except that waitress at the Waffle House in Atlanta, the flight attendant at Dulles, the concierge in Vegas, and oh, that DJ in Amsterdam." RB says, "Why do we have to dress like this for every show? I've spent 17 years in this ridiculous codpiece." As Nicholas and I leave the tunnel, we're bathed in a white light which washes out the world around us. When the saturation returns, we're relieved to find ourselves back in my college apartment. My younger self sits in darkness, practicing his chords and speaking with Jen on the phone. We're close enough to hear the voice on the other end. Jen says, "I can't come this weekend." "Why not?" After a long pause, she says, "I'm grounded." "We're recording tomorrow." "Well, you could talk to Mom, but I don't think it's going to make a difference." He leans his guitar against the side of the couch and sits upright. "Why are you grounded?" An even longer pause. "I wasn't in my room when Mom came in to spy on me." "You snuck out?" "And I'm grounded for grades, which I'd be doing better with if I had more time to do homework." "Stop sneaking out of the house and do your homework." Jen's voice drops an octave. "I don't have time because I have to drive up there." He takes a moment to think of his response. "Are you saying you don't want to be in the band?" "No, I'm not saying that, but I never get to see my friends, Paul. I'm up there like every weekend, and I can't go out on school nights." "Oh, you snuck out to see your friends?" "Yeah." He knows his sister well enough to tell when she's hiding something, even over the phone. Trying to manufacture the right words, he gets as far as her name before his gears start grinding. "Jen." He hears his mother's voice in the background of the call and listens intently to try to make out what she's saying. "Look, I have to go," Jen says. "I'm grounded from the phone, too." "We'll figure it out," he says. "Bye." She hangs up. He puts down the phone and sighs deeply. With a little tenderness in his voice, Nicholas asks, "What time do you have?" "It's January 21st, 2001. "No, the time. I want to know how we're doing." 23:59:44. After checking the face of my cracked phone for himself, Nicholas starts pacing the room. "Come on, Paul, tell me who has that key." "It could have been anyone involved with the album, but we've gone well past it." "What happens next?" Chris comes into the room and heads toward the kitchen. He sees his brother sitting on the couch and nods a greeting. "Jen's not coming," 21-year-old me says, changing his plan after grabbing his beer from the fridge. Instead of going back to his bedroom, Chris settles down beside his older brother. "She got caught, huh?" "You knew she was sneaking out of the house?" I had an inkling. The two sit quietly in the darkness as Chris uses the side of the coffee table as a bottle cap opener. He takes a swig and says, I know this isn't easy for you. You've got a plan, and when you have your mind set on something, nothing stops you from driving forward. Leaning back and taking a long draw of the amber liquid, he turns to his older brother and settles into the arm of the couch. You're about to graduate. You're focusing on your career, but Jen, she's still a kid. Well, she's about to graduate. Yeah, high school. It's not the same thing. Chris sets his beer down. We're working on our second album. We've got a music video and documentary about us. How many people could say that? You think about it, it's pretty amazing, and it's all because of you. My younger self holds up his glass of Dr. Pepper, clinking it against Chris's bottle. Thanks. Chris smiles at his older brother through the darkness. He says, honestly, man, I should be thanking you. He picks up his beer and rises to his feet. As he crosses the room, he looks over his shoulder and says, now if I could just get you to work up the nerve to ask a feed out. 21-year-old me calls back in genuine astonishment. What? Oh, nothing, Chris says as he closes himself off in his room. Stunned, my younger self mulls over Chris's words with a perplexed expression. 6 seconds later, he grabs the phone and dials. Hey, a feed? It's Paul. Nicholas and I are transported once again, this time to the back seat of a car. Jen's in the driver's seat. She must be about 20. I double-check my phone. November 20th, 2005. That would make her 22. This is the first Thanksgiving after Jen graduated college. The first since I left the Navy. And it's the first holiday we spent at Mom's in such a long time it felt awkward and forced. Jen's driving 26-year-old me back to the airport. The stereo plays songs from the unfinished second album. While the initial project had its difficulties, it really was a labor of love. The second attempt was just labor. The sophomore effort took 9 months to die in the womb. Just when the finish line was in sight, everyone said they needed a short break. Jen wanted to focus her energy on school and bring her social life back from the brink for her last year of high school. Chris was chafing to do something more in alignment with his changing sensibilities, and because I was the one booking our gigs and planning everything else, Tom felt I was somehow taking advantage of him. I was heartbroken. I'd poured everything into what we'd accomplished and was left feeling empty. What I didn't realize at the time was I needed the others to re-energize me. I needed them to be so inspired by what we were doing, I could take a step back and let them steer the boat. And at the same time, I was afraid of what would happen if I actually did let go of the wheel. Would I be happy with where we ended up? Would we even be the same band? Would we crash? Doesn't matter now. We drifted apart, and the sabbatical proved permanent. Too Loud was a ghost ship. Nothing more. Conversation between the two people in the front seats had also met a similar fate. The quiet moments between their abbreviated sentences are so cudgeled they expose the threadbare fabric of a strained relationship. Jen makes another attempt at conversation. I heard you were in New Orleans. Yep, he says in a barely audible drone. How was it? Not good. Hoping for more, Jen goes fishing. Did you get to try a po' boy when you were down there? He jeers. No. Her intentionally thick query was given a serious answer. She recoils from her attempted humor and tries a different tact. You haven't said anything about me and Tom. What's there to say? She tightens her grip on the steering wheel until her knuckles whiten. I don't know. I was just kind of hoping for your blessing. Almost as a question, he replies, Sorry? Even from the back seat, I could see more than I did in his place. So consumed by his own anger and hurt, he doesn't see the gathering storm in his sister's eyes. You should be careful how you talk to me, she says. Your opinion actually matters. The car merges into the lane for departures. These two must know there are precious few moments left before they part ways. It's Jen, again, making the final attempt. Thank you for coming. I miss you now that you're all the way on the other side of the country. He gives her the first sign of emotion. It's just a cockeyed smile, but it's more than he's shown in a long time. I'm sorry I'm such an ass. She eases up to the curb and stops, and they get out. He removes his rucksack from the trunk and slings it over his shoulder. Giving her a half hug with his free arm, he says, "You're my sister. I have high standards for you, and quite simply, Tom doesn't meet them. Maybe he will someday, but why sit around waiting for him to change?" She works up her courage a moment before asking, "Does this have to do with the band?" After a dejected sigh, he squints at his baby sister and says, "I gotta go." She nods, giving her big brother a squeeze. "I love you, Polly." He waits for her hug to end and then heads inside with a wave. "You too." Jen gets back into the car and pulls away. All that's left with her is us and unfinished music. The song playing was recorded just 4 years before, but it might as well have been from a different life. I close my eyes. It's been years since I've given it a listen myself. The first project had been energetic and slapshot. This one was more determined and visionary. Every song tells a story and adds to the band's overall lore. It starts loud and grows still and small. This song is one I'd been told would be impossible to accomplish. Recording it involved bringing orchestral musicians into the studio and asking them to play a melody I could never meter out onto sheet music. There were so many moving parts, and since my idea for the song was to make it global, I wasn't satisfied with simply being symphonic. I wanted to fill the bridge with different languages from around the world. Getting it finished took the same amount of time as every other song we'd ever done combined. It cost me a month's worth of sleep and put me into debt for years. But we did it. Our stupid little comedy band did the impossible, even if it was only once. I hear Jen sniffling and can see she's crying. Her wet eyes meet mine in the rearview mirror. The song ends. The album comes to its premature conclusion, drenching us in the hush of the road passing in darkness beneath the car. "I'm sorry," she says to me. "For what?" She gasps. "For killing your dream. It takes everything I've got to keep me from tumbling down the rabbit hole with her." "You have nothing to apologize for, not ever." "I really did love singing with my brothers. I never realized how much until it was over." I reach for her, touching her shoulder. Her hand leaves the steering wheel and covers mine. I say, "We can still sing together." She smiles. "What would we sing?" Giving it some thought, I reply, "I'd like to sing a song about you, Jen." "Oh," she says, "Spitfire." "No, something new." She watches me quietly until I find my voice. I would sing about how you never lost faith in me, even when you absolutely should have. I'd sing about how much I owe you for that. I'd find a way to say I'm sorry. I'd let down my guard and finally let you in. My sister sobs. She turns my hand over and places her key into my palm. She squeezes my finger and then lets my hand slip away.